For decades, Cadillac built its reputation on one simple promise: bigger meant better. Longer bodies, massive V8 engines, and unmatched luxury made these cars the ultimate symbol of American success. But by the mid-1970s, that philosophy was beginning to clash with reality. Everything changed after the 1973 oil crisis. Fuel prices skyrocketed, buyers became more conscious of fuel economy, and many drivers started questioning whether enormous luxury cars still made sense. At the same time, another practical issue was becoming impossible to ignore. Cadillacs had grown so large that many owners struggled to fit them inside a standard residential garage. Take the 1976 Cadillac Fleetwood Brougham as an example. Measuring nearly 20 feet long, it stretched almost the entire length of a typical American garage. Parking one required perfect positioning, leaving almost no room to spare. It was clear that something had to change. Recognizing the shift in consumer demand, General Motors made one of the boldest decisions in Cadillac history. For the 1977 model year, the company completely downsized its full-size lineup. The goal wasn't simply to make the cars smaller, it was to build vehicles that were easier to drive, easier to park, more fuel-efficient, and still worthy of carrying the Cadillac name. The Fleetwood Brougham experienced some of the most dramatic changes. Its wheelbase was shortened from an enormous 133 inches to just over 121 inches, removing nearly a full foot between the wheels. Overall length also dropped significantly, shrinking from roughly 234 inches to about 221 inches. On paper, those numbers suggest a completely different automobile. Yet the remarkable part of Cadillac's redesign wasn't how much the car lost, it was how much it managed to keep. Despite becoming noticeably shorter on the outside, passengers inside experienced almost no sacrifice in comfort. Headroom remained generous, legroom stayed impressive, and hip room changed very little. The cabin continued to deliver the spacious feeling buyers expected from a premium American luxury sedan. The only area where dimensions changed in a meaningful way was shoulder room. Earlier Cadillacs featured heavily curved body sides, which limited how wide the seats could actually be. With the cleaner, straighter body design introduced in 1977, engineers were able to make better use of the available interior space, giving occupants a roomier feel without increasing the car's exterior size. This clever packaging became one of Cadillac's greatest engineering achievements. Rather than simply shrinking the car, designers reworked the proportions so owners could enjoy virtually the same luxury experience while benefiting from a vehicle that was easier to maneuver every day. Ironically, these late 1970s Cadillacs remain some of the most overlooked American luxury cars in today's collector market. While many enthusiasts chase newer Fleetwood Broughams from the late 1980s and early 1990s, the 1977 through 1979 models often sell for surprisingly affordable prices, even though many collectors argue they're mechanically superior. One of the biggest reasons is what's hiding beneath the hood. These cars came equipped with Cadillac's legendary 425 cubic inch V8 engine, paired with the incredibly durable turbo-hydromatic 400 automatic transmission. That combination delivers effortless torque, smooth acceleration, and the quiet, refined driving experience Cadillac buyers expected. Later Fleetwood Broughams often relied on the much smaller Oldsmobile-built 307 V8 along with the lighter-duty 200-4R transmission. While perfectly adequate for everyday driving, they simply don't provide the same effortless power or mechanical robustness found in the earlier cars. For anyone looking to enter the classic car hobby without spending a fortune, the 1977 to 1979 Fleetwood Brougham represents an incredible value. You receive genuine Cadillac luxury, one of the brand's best V8 engines, legendary ride comfort, and timeless styling, all at prices that remain surprisingly reasonable. But beyond its engineering, there's another fascinating detail that makes these Cadillacs especially interesting. Hidden within the body design is a styling feature inspired by one of the most legendary luxury automobiles ever created, a connection that many enthusiasts have never noticed. And that's where the real story begins. Part 2. When most people compare the 1977 Fleetwood Brougham with the DeVille, the two cars appear almost identical at first glance. They share much of their body structure: overall proportions, and unmistakable Cadillac styling. But look a little closer, and one subtle design element completely changes the character of the Fleetwood. The difference lies in the B-pillar. Unlike the DeVille's simple, straight pillar design, the Fleetwood Brougham featured a distinctive angled shape that created a subtle triangular appearance along the side profile. It wasn't a dramatic alteration, but it gave the Fleetwood a far more formal and elegant look. Why would Cadillac invest time creating such a small difference? The answer comes down to brand identity. Although the Fleetwood and DeVille shared much of their sheet metal, including the roof, front doors, fenders, hood, and quarter panels, Cadillac still needed customers to recognize the Fleetwood as the more prestigious model. Rather than redesigning the entire body, engineers chose a far more economical solution. By modifying the upper section of the rear doors and changing the shape of the B-pillar, they created a completely different visual impression without requiring expensive new tooling across the entire vehicle. It was a smart compromise between design ambition and manufacturing cost. But where did that unusual pillar design originate? Many historians believe the inspiration came from one of America's greatest luxury automobiles, the magnificent Duesenberg 20 Grand. Built during the height of the Great Depression, the 20 Grand was one of the most expensive production automobiles ever offered in America. With a staggering $20,000 price tag in the 1930s, equivalent to roughly $500,000 today, it represented wealth on an extraordinary level. Beyond its price, the Duesenberg was admired for its elegant proportions and beautifully sculpted roofline. One of its defining characteristics was its gracefully angled, almost triangular B-pillar, the very detail that appears echoed decades later on the Fleetwood Brougham. One of the most fascinating things about the 1977 Cadillac Fleetwood Brougham isn't its bigger engine, better, its luxury, longer bodies, or even its V8 engines, and it's a subtle design detail that made these cars overlook the ultimate symbol of American styling feature that traces by the mid-1970s, one of the most exclusive automobiles was beginning to clash with reality. At first glance, everything changed the Fleetwood Brougham and the 1973 oil almost identical. Fuel prices skyrocketed. Shared much of their
Buyers
sheet metal,
became more conscious of
fuel economy,
fenders, roof,
and many drivers started questioning
structure.
whether enormous luxury
Cadillac
cars
wanted the
still
Fleetwood
made
to
sense.
feel like the more
At the same
prestigious
time,
model without
another
investing
practical
millions
issue
into
was
creating
becoming
an
impossible
entirely
to
different
ignore.
body.
So
Cadillac
designers came up with an ingenious
many
solution.
owners struggled
Instead
to fit
of
them
redesigning the whole
standard
car,
residential garage.
they focused on one
Take
area
the
that dramatically
1976
changed
Cadillac
the vehicle's
Fleetwood
personality.
Brougham as an example.
The B-pillar
Measuring
and rear door
nearly
window.
20 feet long.
Unlike the
It
DeVille's
stretched
simple,
almost the entire
straight
length
B-pillar,
of a typical
the
American
Fleetwood
garage.
featured an
Parking
elegant
one
angle
required
design that
perfect
created
positioning,
a distinctive
leaving
triangular
almost no room
profile.
to spare.
It was a
It was
small
clear
alteration,
that something had to change.
yet it instantly made the car
Recognizing
appear
the
longer
shift
in consumer
more
demand.
formal, and
General
far
Motors
more
made one of the
luxurious.
boldest decisions
That tiny
in Cadillac
difference
history.
was enough to
For the
separate the Fleetwood from its
1977
less
model
expensive
year,
sibling,
the company
while
keeping
completely
production
downsized
costs
its
under
full-size
control.
lineup.
What's even more
The goal
interesting
wasn't
is
simply
where
to make
this
the
idea
car smaller.
may have
It was
originated.
to build vehicles that
Many
were easier to
automotive
drive,
historians believe
easier to
Cadillac's
park,
designers
more
drew
fuel
inspiration
efficient,
from
and
one of
still
the
worthy
greatest
of
American
carrying the
luxury
Cadillac
cars
name.
ever created.
The Fleetwood
the
Brougham
legendary
experienced some of the
Duesenberg
most dramatic
20
changes.
Its
The wheelbase
wheelbase
was
wasn't
from
just
an
another
enormous
luxury
133
automobile.
inches
Introduced during
to
the
just
height
over
of the Great
121
Depression.
inches.
It carried an
removing
astonishing
nearly a full foot
$20,000
between the
price
wheels.
tag.
Overall
a figure
length
that would
also
equal
dropped
roughly
significantly,
$500 million
shrinking from
today.
roughly
It was built for
234
America's
inches to about
wealthiest individuals
221
and
inches.
represented the
On
absolute
paper,
peak
those
of
numbers
automotive
suggest a
craftsmanship.
completely different automobile.
One of its signature styling
Yet the
elements
remarkable part of
was its
Cadillac's
beautifully
redesign
sculpted
wasn't how much
roofline
the car lost.
and elegant triangular
it was how much it
B-pillar.
managed to keep.
When you compare
Despite
that
becoming
classic
noticeably
Duesenberg
shorter
to the
on the outside,
1977
passengers
Fleetwood Brougham,
inside experienced
the resemblance
almost
becomes
no
surprisingly
sacrifice in
clear.
comfort.
Although
Headroom
Cadillac
remained
simplified the
generous,
design for mass
legroom
production,
stayed impressive,
the influence
and
is
hip room
difficult to
changed
ignore.
very little.
Of course,
The cabin
building a
continued
production
to deliver
sedan
the spacious
is very
feeling buyers
different from
expected
creating
from
an
a premium
ultra-expensive
American
custom
luxury car.
sedan.
The only
Cadillac's
area
designers
where
had to
dimensions
work within
changed
strict
in a
budgets,
meaningful way was
manufacturing
shoulder room.
limitations,
Earlier Cadillacs
and existing
featured
body
heavily
panels.
curved body sides,
Instead of completely
which limited how
redesigning the
wide
roof
the
structure,
seats could actually
they
be.
modified
With
only the upper
cleaner,
section of the
straighter
rear
body
doors
design
and
introduced
window
in
frame.
1977.
This allowed them to capture
Engineers
much
were
of the
able to
same
make
visual
better
elegance
use of the available
while
interior
avoiding the
space,
enormous cost
giving
of creating
occupants
an
a
entirely
roomier feel
new body.
without increasing
It
the
was
car's
a brilliant
exterior
compromise
size.
between
This
artistry
clever packaging
and
became
practicality.
One of
The
Cadillac's
surviving
greatest
design
engineering
sketches from the
achievements.
development program
Rather than
make make this
simply
connection
shrinking the car
even more
designers
convincing.
reworked the proportions
Some early
so
illustrations
owners
show a far more dramatic version
luxury
of the Fleetwood,
experience while
featuring
benefiting
a
from a
formal
vehicle
roof treatment
that was easier
and
to
a
maneuver
perfectly
every day.
symmetrical triangular
Ironically,
pillar that
these
looked
late
remarkably
1970s
close to the
Cadillacs
famous
remain some of the
Duesenberg.
most
Those
overlooked
sketches
American luxury
represented the
cars
designer's
in today's
original
collector
vision
market.
before
While
cost-cutting
many
measures
enthusiasts
simplified
chase
the final
Fleetwood
production
Brugams from the
car.
late 1980s
Even though some of those
and early
ambitious
1990s
ideas never reached
the
the assembly line,
1977 through
enough of the original
1979
concept
models
remained
often sell
to
for
give the
surprisingly
Fleetwood its
affordable
unique
prices.
identity.
The
Even though
early
many
artwork
collectors
also
argue
revealed
their
several
mechanically
other styling
superior.
ideas
One
that
of the biggest
changed before
reasons
production
is
began.
what's hiding beneath
Some
the hood.
proposals
These
featured
cars
sweeping
came
rear
equipped
body
with
lines,
Cadillac's legendary
elegant vertical
425
taillights,
cubic
sculpted
inch
deck lids,
V8 engine,
and traditional
paired with
rear
the
fender
incredibly
skirts.
durable
Designers
turbo-hydromatic
even experimented
400
with
automatic
lower belt
transmission.
lines and much
That
larger
combination
windows to make the
delivers
downsized
effortless
Cadillac
torque,
feel
smooth
more open
acceleration,
and spacious
and the
from the
quiet,
driver's seat.
refined
While
driving
not every
experience
Cadillac
concept
buyers
survived.
expected.
Many of those
Later
ideas
Fleetwood Brugams
influenced the
often
final
relied
appearance
on the
of the
much smaller
1970s
Oldsmobile
Seville
built
307
The finished
V8
car
along
struck
with
an
the lighter
excellent balance
between
between
classic
classic
Cadillac
elegance
transmission
and the more
while
modern
perfectly
styling
adequate
trends
for
of the
everyday
late
driving.
1970s.
They simply don't
Even
provide
today,
the same
the
effortless
Fleetwood
power
Brougham
or
continues
mechanical
to surprise
robustness
enthusiasts
found in the
not
earlier
only
cars.
because of its
For
styling
anyone
but
looking
also
to enter the
because
classic
of its
car hobby
incredible
without
value.
spending a fortune.
Unlike
The
many collectible
1977
American
to
classics that have become
1979
increasingly
Fleetwood Brougham
expensive,
represents
these
an
Cadillacs
incredible
remain
value.
remarkably
You
affordable.
receive genuine
Well-maintained
Cadillac
examples
luxury,
can often
one of the
be
brand's
purchased
best
for a fraction
V8
of what
engines,
buyers spend
legendary
on other
luxury
ride
comfort,
classics,
and
making them
timeless
one of the
styling,
best bargains
all at
in the
prices
collector
that
car
remain
market.
surprisingly
Mechanically,
reasonable.
they
But
also
beyond
have a
its
lot
engineering,
going for them.
there's
The dependable
another fascinating
400
detail that makes
cubic
these
inch
Cadillacs
Cadillacs
especially
V8
interesting.
delivers effortless
Hidden within the
power
body
and
design is a
exceptional
styling
low-end
feature
torque,
inspired
making highway
by one of
cruising
the most
almost
legendary
effortless.
luxury
Paired with
automobiles
the
ever
legendary
created,
turbo-hydromatic
a connection that
400
many
transmission
enthusiasts have never
the
noticed.
drivetrain has earned a
And
reputation
that's where the
for
rail
durability
story
that
begins.
enthusiasts
Part
continue
2.
to praise
When
decades
most people
later.
compare the
Inside,
1977
the experience
Fleetwood Brougham
remains
with the DeVille,
every bit as
the two
impressive.
cars appear
The
almost
seats are
identical
incredibly
at first
comfortable.
glance.
The cabin
They
is
share
whisper
much
quiet,
of their body
and the
structure,
suspension
overall
glides over
proportions,
rough roads
and
with the
smoothness
unmistakable
that make
Cadillac
Cadillac
styling.
famous
But
around
look
the
a
world.
little closer,
Even though
and
these
one
cars
subtle
were
design
physically
element
smaller than
completely
their
changes the
predecessors,
character of the
they
Fleetwood.
never lost the
difference
luxurious driving
lies in the
experience
B-pillar.
buyers expected.
Unlike the
There
DeVille's
are even a
simple,
few interesting
straight
engineering
pillar design,
quirks hidden
the
underneath
Fleetwood
the car.
Brougham featured
Because
a
the
distinctive
catalytic converter
angled
was
shape
mounted
that
on the
created
passenger
a subtle
side.
triangular
Engineers
appearance
had to
along the
modify
side
the
profile.
chassis bracing.
It wasn't a
As a
dramatic
result,
alteration.
the driver's
but it
side
gave the
received
Fleetwood
additional
a far more
reinforcement,
formal
while the
and
passenger
elegant
side
look.
was left
Why
without
would
a
Cadillac
matching brace.
invest time
It's a
creating
tiny
such a
detail
small
that
difference?
most owners
The
never
answer
notice,
comes down to brand
but
identity.
it's exactly the
Although
kind
the
of engineering
Fleetwood
and
DeVille
DeVille
shared
classic
much of their
Cadillac
sheet metal,
enthusiasts love
including the
discussing.
roof, front
Nearly
doors,
5 decades
fenders,
after its
hood,
introduction,
and quarter
the
panels,
1977
Cadillac
to
still needed
1979
customers to
Fleetwood
recognize the
Brougham
Fleetwood
deserves
as the
far
more
more
prestigious
recognition
model
than it receives.
rather than redesigning
It
the
marked a
entire
turning
body.
point for Cadillac,
Engineers chose
a moment when
far
the
more
company
economical
successfully
solution
adapted to
by
changing
modifying
customer
the upper
demands
section
without
of the rear
abandoning the
doors
comfort
and changing
elegance,
the shape of the
and
B-pillar.
prestige
They
that
created a
defined the
completely
brand for
different
generations.
visual impression without
For collectors
requiring
searching for a
expensive
new
smooth
riding
riding
American
across the
luxury
entire
car
vehicle.
with timeless
It was a
styling,
smart compromise
dependable
between
mechanics,
design ambition
fascinating
and
design
manufacturing
history,
cost
and
but
outstanding
where
value.
did that unusual
Few
pillar
classics
design
deliver
originate?
as much
Many
as the
historians
late
believe the
1970s
inspiration came
Fleetwood
from one of
Brougham.
America's
It may have been
greatest luxury
downsized,
automobiles,
but in
the
every way that
magnificent
truly
Duesenberg,
mattered,
20 grand,
it remained every
built during the
Cadillac.
height of the Great Depression. The 20 grand was one of the most expensive production automobiles ever offered in America. With a staggering $20,000 price tag in the 1930s, equivalent to roughly $500,000 today, it represented wealth on an extraordinary level. Beyond its price, the Duesenberg was admired for its elegant proportions and beautifully sculpted roofline. One of its defining characteristics was its gracefully angled, almost triangular B-pillar, the very detail that appears echoed decades later on the Fleetwood Brougham.